I've been sitting here for the past probably half hour just wondering what all I was going to say. It's been a few hours since the results mostly came in. And before I go into them, I guess I can take us back to 2016. That year I supported Bernie Sanders for the Democratic nomination, and after the primary was rigged by the DNC in favor of Hellspawn Hillary, I was apathetic towards the results of the election because the person I actually wanted had lost. And when Clinton lost to Trump, I was in a house where a lot of my relatives were losing their minds, with the exception of my grandmother, who was just as sick of the Democrats at that point as I was. But what I ascertained, even as a person who wasn't and still is not a Trump fan, was that people were sick of things as they were. They were tired of this, do nothing government, and they wanted to take a chance on someone who wasn't a politician, who talked like a populist and sounded like he was one of them, and couldn't be bought and sold out. And over the course of the next 4 years, as Trump's tenure played out, you had, if we want to go into just specific grievances of mine, net job outsourcing, this border wall that never was finished, banning people from certain countries just because they're from that country, um, ripping up the Iran nuclear deal for no reason other than Obama signed it, so it must be bad. These summits with North Korea that go nowhere, and it just wasn't anything. Oh, and let's not forget my personal favorite, this tax cut that mostly went to helping people who are already wealthy. So I really wasn't a fan of what he actually did in office, and I thought that his handling of the virus was awful and led to him losing to a guy who had his brain leaking out of his ears. But at that time in 2020, I supported Sanders again. DNC did some more, elaborate behind the scenes stuff where, in this instance, they got all the other people to drop out so they could all coalesce around Biden. They all teamed up on him. Um, and so when we got to this election, where a lot of people wanted Biden gone, either because they didn't like his handling in office or they just thought he was too old, which there seem to be some people who were a combination of both, and in both categories. And Harris took over. It looks like Trump has won. And I guess let's go, just to kind of drive this point back. So when he won in 2016, the lesson I took was that people were sick of the way things were. They wanted to try something new. And when he lost in 2020, I thought people, again, after taking that chance, realized that he wasn't going to fix things or resolve things, at least in the ways that they would have liked. And this played a part in him getting his comeuppance. And I'm not new to this. I know that every 4 to 8, into in more rare cases 12 years, the White House flips back and forth. But in this case, you're not talking about some general flip from, Republican to Democrat to Republican. You're talking about the American people going back to the exact same game show host that they were so sick of after 4 years as to vote for some nearly 80-year-old man to take the reins. I could be a lot more forgiving if this was Ramaswamy defeating Harris, Haley, DeSantis, one of the people that actually ran against Trump that's, not, that hadn't been president before and could theoretically play into the whole idea of, when I get in there, I'm going to change things. This is someone that people were clearly dissatisfied with just a few short years ago, and now they've reinstated him. Um, all of this is to say that I look at a lot of the problems with the United States, the daily mass shootings, the fact that most of us are poor. Every time they seem to do a wage increase, it's never on the federal level. Federal minimum wage been the same for over 10 years, 14 years, 15 years, since 2009. You know, infrastructure that is at what, a D plus. And as I see these issues, and I know that Trump won't fix them, won't even address most of them. This is the way this stuff goes. I can't help but feel frustrated because people they people that like him, they go and they say, ha ha, liberal cope, Democrats coping. Listen, I don't care. I don't give one good goddamn about the Democratic Party. If I had my way, Pelosi would be gone, Jeffries would be gone, Schumer would have been out of there years ago. These are all people that I couldn't care any less about if I tried. Uh, Even if I tend to lean more on the progressive liberal side, whatever, I don't. That party does nothing for me. It doesn't pay my bills. It doesn't assist me with getting a job. It's nothing. It is a hollow husk of a political party, and that's why at a time where where most of the stuff that it is supposedly a proponent of, right, the rights of immigrants, the rights of women to reproductive care, right, all these different things, they still find a way to lose the Senate, the presidency, and possibly the House too. Interesting. And so, thinking about that in tandem with Trump coming back, I said, because, like, for one, I'm sick of getting scammed. I know how the Democrats are going to be for the next 2 years. Oh, we can't pass anything because we don't have the House or the Senate. Vote for more of us. Then if they get more seats, oh, we can't pass anything because Trump is stopping us. Oh, vote for our next Democratic nominee that doesn't inspire or excite anybody. And then when that person either wins or loses, there's going to be some Democrat that stops them from passing stuff like Manchin or Cinema. And it just constantly repeats, and people never are able to catch on to it. And that's at the core of my frustration here, because I thought when Trump lost in 2020, we were like slowly inching more and more towards, even if it's incrementalism, it's still like stuff going a little bit in the right direction, right? Maybe we get somebody that tries to codify Roe v. Wade. Maybe we get someone that tries to actually have some immigration reform that isn't just deporting a bunch of people. Maybe do some wage increases, or possibly put some regulations in place to stop these companies from trying to screw over their employees with these half shifts when they do a wage increase. But instead, we seem to take one step forward, one step back. And really, the only thing I can take away from this election is that I just have no more confidence in I guess I call it the national American voter. Like, there are House seats that I think if you go into the district, right, you can talk to people and they'll be inclined to listen to you, or depending on how much effort you put into it, may support you just from that alone. I think there are some state races, whether it's for governor or senator, where if you go and talk to people, speak to them, lay out the facts, lay out what you want to do, lay out why you don't think your opponent is that good, they will support you. But in terms of believing that the people of the 50 states can get together and have at least a majority of them say, we're sick of this, we're tired of being played, I just don't buy it anymore. We know exactly how the next couple of years are going to go. Um, you're going to have Trump do some more medieval stuff. Democrats complain about it so they can raise some money. And then when they either don't win enough House seats or Senate seats or the presidency, start the whole process up again. Because for most of and this is just reality, for most of these politicians, they are insulated from the consequences of elections. Do you think 100 millionaire Pelosi or the Obamas is sitting there sweating because Roe got overturned? No, they can fly to another country or another state like that. Um, and really, that's another thing that's so disenfranchising, that politics and these elections are not supposed to just be like your favorite sports team winning. It's supposed to determine, what types of laws can we pass to help people, all these pressing issues. We need to have lawmakers and a chief executive that is receptive to this stuff. And it just seems like we're never going to get that. I don't like being so pessimistic, but if they're going to go back to the same clown that was there for 4 years and failed in all the different ways I described and think they're going to get anything different, then I have a bridge to sell them. Um, there's even a part of me that wonders if I want to even cover a second. Like, I'm sure there will be inevitable stories about it, but I might switch to just doing local news. This is just. I'm really not sure what lesson to take from this. If people don't like the current person or party, then they'll go back not only to the same party but the same last president that had an approval rating that was always 50% or lower. And then with the Democrats, in a real world where there were consequences for ineptitude, you would see a clean sweep. The DNC chair would be gotten rid of. These different Democratic Party leaders in Congress would be, if not gotten rid of, challenged in some way, right, either by the reporters or by members of their own party. And you're not going to see that because they are blue MAGA. They are a cult in and of themselves, where the only thing that matters is trying to expand their number of seats and playing defense for each other. That's why it took Biden having his mind just going to the gutter on live television in front of millions of people for them to start calling for him to step down from the ticket. But like I said, I'm stumped. I think this is more confirmation that we are never going to get to the point where people stop getting sick of being scammed. Uh, it's just not something I really have the stomach for. I'm probably, because I've maintained I'm not a fan of Democrats. I'd actually never voted for a Democrat for president before this election cycle, believe it or not. You couldn't pay me to vote for Hillary or Biden. But it really says something that when things are bad, you're going to go back to the person who was so bad that you got rid of him. Like I mean, it just defies logic to me. And the problem is, and this is one of the reasons why I don't engage in most political dialogues unless I'm, running for office or somewhat, like in some capacity where I would have to, because I just feel like when I try to sit people down and explain stuff, they're not receptive to it, and they kind of like put their hands in their ears, but they also want you to listen to what they have to say. So I guess the next several years are just going to be, I don't know, maybe attempting to get ballot measures passed, like ranked choice voting. Like maybe I should just quit even believing in the idea of electoral politics where people have to vote for one person over the other, because the stench of the Democratic Party is so strong that you can have positions that are disagreed with supposedly by a majority of the country and still have a decent shot of winning a national election, because there's just no standards. So I don't I'm just I don't know what this is, but I do know that I no longer believe in the national American voter. I think you can scam them over and over again and they will continue to be scammed. And we might have to just seriously consider the idea that this is a country that, whether it says it supports one thing or the other, votes for a lot of right-wing pricks, and it might be conceivable that we just have to let them have the government and try to just get stuff passed in alternate ways like ballot measures. Like I really don't know what else to can really be said about this result. It's just more proof that we're things are they're on this they're like a hamster wheel. You don't see any progress. And anyone that voted for him and thinks things are going to get better, I genuinely feel sorry for you. I never would have told you that Harris was going to fix a lot of issues, but she didn't have 4 years as president. Trump did, and if you thought that was good or great, I'd hate to see what you think is worse or terrible.